What's up, YouTube? What's up, YouTube? It's your boy back with another one. People, in today's video, we want to talk about African independence and whether or not it really truly is independence that the citizens feel, or whether it's just a scam or a sham. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. Holla! People, check it out, man. I'm probably gonna catch a lot of flack for this video, right? But it's gotta be said, and it has to be said because somebody's gotta say it, and we always live in denial, right? Now, what am I talking about? I'm talking about what we are good at as a people, right? Now, let's start at the very top, right? So, for example, let's just say, well, how does it look over here? Look over here, the greenery over here. So, let's start at the very top, right? Let's start at the very top. Who's at the top? At the top is definitely going to be America, right? So, we look at America, right? I always ask myself, Black Americans always set the blueprint for the rest of the Africans in the diaspora, right? And that's like a global fact, right? So since we know that to be the fact, what do they have going on for themselves? So first thing first, they don't even have a political party, right? They don't have any representation in Congress. There's no representation in the White House. There's no representation in the Pentagon. All the houses of power, there's just no representation at all. Now, why am I saying this? Even if they had to fight and get independence, get their own state, for example, let's just say we give them Atlanta, for example, right? Or Chicago, right? We have to ask ourselves this question. Will it develop? Will those areas develop past to where they are now? Or will they crumble? Now, I do know for the fact that there was something called Black Wall Street, which actually was a successful town per se, right? Or a city. The thing is, if they did it once, why are they failing to do it again? Are they being sabotaged? Are they being um, denied? Or do they simply not have the goal and the will to repeat it again? Right? So why am I saying this? We come back to big old Africa. Why are we in Africa failing to do that? Why are we failing to create a United States of America in Africa? Now I'm talking about just development alone, nothing else, just development. I'm just talking about development. Why can't we replicate that, what is in America and in Europe? Why do we always have to be second best? You know what I mean? So that is what we're going to focus on today and see why we are always second best and why we fight for independence and yet we have nothing to show for it. Sad, eh? Okay, people, is it safe to say stick to what you know? Or is it a myth to say stick to what you know? The reason I'm asking this is because many have tried, right? And they have failed. The only one that I always talk about is always Botswana. Only one I talk about. Now, why am I talking about Botswana? Why do I always refer to Botswana? Because it's the only country that did not inherit any infrastructure, right? So we all know that, right? But here's the thing: of all the countries that inherited infrastructure, right, none of them, none of them are prosperous. Why? So is it because we don't know how to run countries? Is it because we don't know how to run economies? Is it because we don't know how to run industries? Is it because we lack the technical know-how? Or is it simply a case of we are just lazy? Or is this thing of countries and economy and commerce, is it so foreign to us that we just cannot get a grasp on it? Funny thing is this, right? We will always talk about how we can, how we used to, how we were once the leading civilization. Everything comes from Africa. People just develop, and it's good to know all that, right? But if we're not able to transform that, are we not able to transform that into something tangible like the rest of the world? Then why are we even doing it in the first place? Why are we even in it in the first place? You know what I'm saying? The saddest reality is that we have this we have this thing that we know for the fact that we can do it if they allow us to. But my thing is, if who allows us to? And why should they allow us to? Why can't we do it on our own without having to be allowed to? You get my whole point? So for me, I just feel like we are letting ourselves down in a big way. So should we just stick to barter trading, subsistence farming, uh, cattle herding, goat rearing, sheep rearing, and all these small but big in a way? You know what I mean? Small on a global scale, but big on an African level. Should we just stick to that? Should we just stick to what we know? That's my whole thing. So, people, do we stick to what we know, or do we try something new? And my thing is, we have to try our best to get out of what people think they know about us or what they know for us, right? But at the end of the day, it's all up to us, right? But even if we do say that it's up to us, what does that mean? Because at some point, someone, some way, some powers that be are preventing us from doing what we are capable of. So, what are we capable of? We can go back to Egypt, right? And say we were the first civilization. We came up with the first everything that you can think of. So, we go back and ask the same question again. What is it that we did that we were the first in? And why are we not back on those levels that we used to be? Who's preventing us? It's the West. Okay, cool. Now we know that that's a problem. What's the solution? And then we ask ourselves, are we just going to go back to being mediocre? Can we just continue being in our mediocre phase? When will it be our time to shine? Because we always talk about Africa's time to shine. This is Africa's year. And every year, it just happens that it's never the year. So, what can we do to turn things around? If we can turn things around. For some reason, I always feel it comes down to military prowess, right? I always point to that direction because for someone to prevent you from moving forward, it actually means that you are being halted. And the only thing that can halt you, to be honest, has got to be military means, military prowess. What else could it be, right? Now, maybe you're not believing me, maybe you don't believe me, right? But let's look at it like this. Think of all the progress that Africa could have made, but cannot make. Who's stopping it? Let's just say America. What is America using to stop Africa from developing? Money and weapons. How do we overcome this? Money and weapons. We too need to get money and weapons. We too need to get the tools that they have and that they use to prevent us from getting where they are. Right. So again, we come back to the question: why do we fight for independence if we can already see that the other nations are totally not doing what they said they could do or what they were meant to do but cannot do? So, what has come to this point? Why do we keep repeating the same mistakes of the other nations? Have we not learned from the past? Have we not seen that whatever we're speaking about does not work? Have we not seen that even if we tried it on our own, that it just will not work because we are being prevented, we are being sabotaged, we do not have the skills, the know how, the technical ability, we do not have the financial means? Or is it because we are not militarily able to defend ourselves in moving forward? What is the reason? What are the reasons? You see, so I'm saying we seem to not have learned, or we never seem to learn from our past. We never seem to learn from our brothers and sisters who have experienced independence for decades, right? We do not seem to learn from our brothers who just recently got independence because the mistakes keep repeating themselves, and the mistakes keep coming again. It doesn't matter whether Africa was independent since the 50s or Africa got independent in the 90s. The situation is still the same. The cycle still repeats. So then I ask, why do we keep fighting for independence if we do not have the means and the capacity to actually grow and sustain economies to the point that it looks like Europe, looks like America, and looks like China, for example? So, what is preventing us from getting to those levels? And if we know the reasons what's preventing us from those levels, then maybe we could fight for independence. But if we do not know the reasons why we are being prevented from reaching to those levels, why do we keep fighting for independence? That's my question. Let me know what you think about this topic in the comment section below. Maybe you have a better idea. Maybe you have the reasons why, because for me, it just doesn't make sense. I mean, we could blame the West all we want, we could blame each other all we want, but it's not going to solve the issue. So, what is the solution going forward? That's my whole thing. Let me know. Holla. People, the positives of not fighting for independence. One, you will get to work and enjoy your life without worrying about building a country, building an economy, worrying about having the lives of so many millions of people in your hands, people blaming you for suffering, for the economy failing, for everything that just goes wrong in a country. The positives of not fighting for independence is that you leave those who are good at what they do to do what they're good at and what they're best at. Another positive of not fighting for independence is that you stay in your lane, you stick to what you know, grow in what you know, and become rich in what you know. Those are the positives that I can think of, because fighting for independence is not always a good thing. Theoretically, mentally, it is a good thing because everybody wants to have self-rule and rule themselves. But practically, it's not for everybody. That's what I can think of. So, if you believe what I'm saying and you think what I'm saying is the truth, for sure, holla at me in the comment section below. I know this topic is going to be a real, yeah, I know they're going to come from in the comment section below because a lot of people believe that Africa should have self-rule. But if as Africans, if we cannot rule ourselves, as is the case right now, and always has been since the dawn of independence days, then tell me, what is the positives of Africa ruling themselves since we are not allowed to rule ourselves? Please let me know any positive that you can think of. Hala. The negatives of fighting for independence. Number one, you carry the weight of the nation on your shoulders. Number two, if you mess up a good thing, you carry the blame to the rest of your life. Number three, people depend on their livelihoods, right? And their livelihoods depend on you. So if you do not run the country like it's supposed to be, you become enemy number one. Another negative is that you create enemies that you never had before. People jostle for that number one position. Do you really want to be in that position where everyone is coming for you, where your life is always in danger? You got to think about that in a long, heartfelt way. So, in closing, independence, just the idea of it is a good idea. It's a good thing. It's a mentally, it looks easy on paper. It looks like the most beautiful thing ever. But in reality, European independence is totally different from African independence because Africa does not love to sabotage Europe or America, and yet the other way always is applicable, always applies. So remember, when you fight for independence, you become a marked man, you become a marked country, and ask yourself, do you want that? Hala. In closing, should Africa fight for independence? My honest answer is no. Why am I saying no? Because we've seen time and time again how our struggle heroes have taken a good thing and totally messed it up. Now, we could obviously argue the point that they've been sabotaged when they did that, and it's true. But we cannot always hide behind that fact that we've been sabotaged when there's multiple incidences and evidences and events that show that mismanagement of funds. I think that's the one biggest thing that we are not used to is having money, money like billions of it. That's one thing that we're not used to, and that's one thing that has always plagued African leaders. So, in closing, I feel like we should, instead of fighting for independence, I feel we should find a way to regulate power so that our resources and our capital doesn't leave our continent. But to say actual running of countries and economies, I think we should leave that to the pros. And you know who the pros are. They created this thing, they invented this thing, they know how this thing works because it's their thing, it's not our thing. So let them do what they do best, and we must just learn how to regulate and how to monitor. That's the only thing I can think of. Other than that, I can't see us running successful countries in Africa. I'm not saying it's not possible. Botswana is a good example of it. But Botswana is an anomaly simply because they built Botswana from the ground up. Everyone else, nah. That's my take on it. So let me know what your take is. Maybe I'm wrong, but prove me wrong, because everywhere you go in sub-Saharan Africa, I'm not going to include Egypt and Tunisia and those. I'm going to talk about sub-Saharan Africa, right? Because I'm more inclined and I know more about sub-Saharan Africa than I do about Northern Africa, right? So from sub-Saharan Africa, if you can tell me a real good success story from sub-Saharan Africa, which excludes Botswana, then I will totally take your advice. I will listen to it, and I will totally change my mindset. But up until then, no, I stick to what I'm saying right now, and I truly believe what I'm saying is the truth and the honest truth. So help me God. Let me know what you think about this in the comment section below. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel. You know we family, right? Holla.